Hello and welcome to the Hosting for Beginners online course. My name is Brian, and I am glad to present this course on behalf of our team at CourseBox. In this course, you will learn how to use your web hosting panel, which is actually called cPanel, the one that majority of web hosting companies use. We're going to show you how to use it effectively to run your website. What I've seen over the years is a lot of people tend to forget how powerful the cPanel really is. In doing so, they often go about buying fancy scripts that cost a lot of money and don't realize that they can use the cPanel for free to do the exact same thing. So, the premise for this course is this. There are so many cPanel videos out there that cover basic features of cPanel, but the problem is they never really dive into the core of what cPanel really offers. That is my goal in this video course, as it is not only going to show you the features of cPanel that you can use for your website, but also parts of it that can really help you truly take your business to the next level of success. This course is not just about maintaining your website and having email accounts or things like that, but really taking it to the next step. You know, there are many different situations beyond just the basics. I want to make sure that I cover everything so that you're aware and you protect yourself from overspending to other scripts. So, in order to get started, obviously what you're going to need to have is cPanel. So with that said, let's move on to the next lesson. I wish you a happy learning. Hello and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about how to use the video tutorials feature, or how to get access to the video tutorials. We'll talk a little bit more about the layout and all that so that we can get on the same page. Not all cPanel users are aware that you can actually get access to the video tutorials that come together with cPanel. cPanel itself actually offers you a lot of basic tutorials within its website, so that you'll get access to understanding of using features. You don't need to think or figure out how do you use this feature, or how do you use that feature, because we're not going to be able to cover every single feature in this video course. So, you need to check out those tutorials too. In fact, what we're trying to do in this course is cover videos that are really not covered often, more in-depth views, rather than just how to use cPanel in general. Once you log in with cPanel, what you need to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on Documentation. At this page, you will be able to access the video tutorials. As you can see, there are a variety of different types of documentation, like videos and written documentation. In the past, cPanel would add the video tutorials in the side of the cPanel, but now it is actually on the outside. I want to make sure that you understand that so you know where to go if you ever need to get access to some basic video training. Now, what I also want to mention is the user interface. Some of you will have different user interface than what you're seeing on the screen here, and that typically is because of the style of a hosting company. You can actually change the style. Most of you will have something that looks like this, and it really depends on your web hosting company. Some web hosting companies will actually customize the cPanel with their own user interface, with their own icons and all of that. What actually holds true and stays the same is the actual words on the sections and on the actual icons. The icons sometimes will be slightly different. The reason why I'm mentioning this to you is because some people might be confused because their interface looks a little bit different for them. What you can do is, up at the top, you can click on this little button here and click on Change Style. If you click this, you'll be sent to this page. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more so that you can see it much clearer. So, there are different styles and different skins, as we call them, and the basic one looks like this. Then, we have the dark version. But, if you'll notice, the icons are very similar and very much the same. The only difference is the background. The light version is the same as well. I would say the majority of you probably have something like this. Now, this is the very old style. Some of you will have this as well, and you'll see this, but at the end of the day, it's all the same. However, if you notice, the similarities are the section name and then, of course, the actual name of the option. So, for example, File Manager will always be File Manager, and so forth. So, like I said, depending on the style that you choose, it might look slightly different. But at the end of the day, typically the things that do not change are the actual titles of the options. File Manager is going to be File Manager across the board. You're going to see different sections. Some of these sections will be different. Some, as you can see, you can actually move around. I can move this section further down here. Just keep in mind that yours might be a little bit lower or yours might be higher. Really, depending on the web hosting company, some will leave it at default and some will get all fancy and move things around and customize it with their own logo. But it's all the same thing at the end of the day, unless you're using a web hosting company that is not using cPanel, which are very few. So let me just run through this real quick. You have files, you have File Manager, you have images, and you have directory privacy, which enables you to tell the system who can actually access certain directories. We have FTP accounts, and we have Backup Wizard, which we'll show you how to use later on. We have disk usage here. That shows you how much disk space you have left. Then, of course, you have databases, which is phpMyAdmin, and which is where you're going to actually look at the database. But you'll need to create a database first, which you can do either here or here. You don't really need these options here, as these are for advanced users. Then, you have domain names such as site publisher, add-on domains, subdomains, redirects, and more. We're not really going to cover this, but subdomains, as you know, it's basically adding a keyword .yourdomain.com. So it's going to be a subdomain of the domain. Then, of course, you have email. You're going to be able to create email accounts here. You're going to be able to create autoresponders, and in this case, the autoresponder is just going to respond with an email. So, you could set up an email address and tell people to email you to this address, and you'll be sent an automatic response, like an email with a secret code or something. You could also forward all emails from one email to another email here. We have email authentication, which we'll talk about more later. We'll have Spam Assassin, which will enable you to protect your email address from spam. Then we have metrics like AW stats. There are other metrics as well, but these are different types of stats. Then, of course, you have security. IP blocker allows you to block IP addresses, and hot link protection is great as well. So, if you click on hot link protection, what this will allow you to do is, for example, if you've uploaded a bunch of zip files and don't want so-and-so, let's say some website linking to the zip files of yours and then getting people to download the zip files, then you can actually prevent other websites from linking to you and essentially using up your bandwidth. Then you have software. The majority of these you will not really use. You will run into Softoculus, which we'll talk about later down the road. Then, of course, you have advanced options like cron jobs, which you will usually set up when you install a web script, and all these other things you won't really use as much. You will use error pages, which we'll show you in a different video as well. Then we've got preferences, which is where you just change style, change language, and all of that, and change your password. And then, of course, you have Softoculus. Hello and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about how to create a MySQL database. Then, we'll talk about, in addition to that, how to insert data into a MySQL database, how to look at database, and how to understand the basics of it so that if you ever need to do this in the future, you can. When it comes to installing a MySQL database, it's actually a very easy thing to do. It's simply click and few other clicks and you're done. I'll show you exactly the step-by-step process of doing that. However, that said, how do you go about inserting data into the database if you ever need to do that? This is often underutilized, but needed in the long term whenever you're running your website. So, that's it. Let me go ahead and show you how. To create a MySQL database is super easy. Let's start at the top. Make sure that you're logged into your cPanel, and what you want to do is scroll downwards and look for databases. If it's different, then basically what you want to do is look for the MySQL database wizard, and this will walk you through step by step. It's the easiest way to go. So, first things first, click on this. And then the system is going to ask you what you want to name your database. Now, this right here is going to be your domain name. Domain is going to be different for different people, and you don't have to worry about that. Just enter a database name. We'll say DB, that stands for database. And this could be anything you want. You just need to remember what it is. Then click on Next Step. Then you want to create a username. So the username or the user has access to the database. So this is separate. You're creating a username and then you're creating a separate database. All right, so let's put that in here. We'll just say user1. Then, of course, you want to create a password. What we'll usually like to do is click on Password Generator, because then you can get a very complex password. You can click Generate Password here and create a random password, and we'll copy it down here. So, once you're done with that, you just click on the checkbox that says, I've copied this into a safe place and I'm ready to use the password. Then, it automatically enters it here. As you can see, it is a very strong password, and we click Create User. Step 3 is to add the user to the database, and to do that, all we have to do is click on All Privileges and click Next Step. That's it. Now, what you need to do is hopefully you have saved the password to a very safe place. Usually what I do is I open up Notepad and I save my password there. If you are installing a web script, typically, what it will do is ask you for your database name, and the database name is the full text between these quotation marks. So, I'm going to copy that over here. That's the database name. I usually do db equals this, and then the user equals this, and keep that in a safe place. As you can see, that's how easy it is to create a MySQL database. Now, what I want to do is click on Return to MySQL Databases, and if we scroll down, we can see that the database has been created. Now, I go back to the outside here, and I'm going to click on the logo, and that just brings me back to the homepage. I'm going to go back down and look for PHP MyAdmin. What this allows you to do is to take a peek at the database itself. I will warn you, and I will say do this very cautiously, because any mess up could potentially mess up your whole site. But I wanted to show you this because sometimes, if you have basic detective skills, you'll be able to kind of get an idea of what's going on inside the database. If you click on PHP MyAdmin, it will open up and it will allow us to edit specific databases. Obviously, you want to find the database that you just named. So in this case, it was the DB base. It's this one right here. Then we can click here. So we can see that there are no tables found. That's the reason why it's an empty database, right? But let's say, for example, that we choose a different database that has data inside of it. So what I've done is I've gone into a WordPress site database. In this case, I'm not going to show you the username and password and all that, but I want to show you some of the basics. So whenever you install a WordPress site, for example, it will have you install plugins and all that. And sometimes we'll see plugin database tables inside of here. So sometimes you can actually edit the data that is inside of these tables. But if you're just curious, then come in and take a look, see what happens, and see inside of it. Obviously, I would be very careful if you are adding a site that you really care about. But by doing this and just looking at it, not really changing anything, this really gives you an idea of what is happening on the back end of your website. The reason why I'm showing this to you is because we used to do this in the past. So whenever we came across an error, or maybe something on the site that I couldn't change on the front end, then sometimes I would go to the back end, like right here, to correct errors for WP comments, for example. You could see comments and all that here. So what I'm showing, you can actually replace existing data with data that you want. And just coming through here and being able to see what's happening on the back end really shows you to see what is happening on your site. This is very useful to know, especially if you get locked out of your website and you have to change your username and password and it just won't let you in. So what you could easily do is you can come down here and go under users and then just change the password inside here. That's why I'm showing you this, because there are potential opportunities in the future. If something bad happens, you could potentially come in and get things fixed. But obviously, if you don't know what you're doing, then you will need to consult someone that does. Hopefully, that gives you a better understanding on how MySQL databases work when you create them. Then, when things begin to populate, everything happens right here. Hello, and welcome to lesson number 4. In this particular video, you're going to learn how to use AW Stats, which is built into the cPanel, and how to apply it to your business. Essentially, knowing what goes on in your website is crucial. We'll discuss what the differences are between AW Stats and Google Analytics in this lesson. Google Analytics typically gives you a more granular view of what's going on in your business, right? That said, not everybody uses Google Analytics. Not everyone uses it in the right way or at the right time. So, the nice thing about your cPanel is your AW Stats is always running. There are specific golden nuggets that it gives you that Google Analytics does not really give you. We will dive into that further. In other words, in this lesson, not only will you be given an overview of AW Stats, but you'll also learn different features of AW Stats that, if used correctly, can actually go beyond and increase your website traffic and protect you as well. You'll also learn how people find you with keywords they are typing in search engines and how to use that to your advantage. You'll also learn who is linking to you for good reasons or even bad reasons so that you can protect yourself. We're going to take a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking here and show you some things that you may never have seen before. So, to access AW Stats, all you need to do is go back to your main screen, as you can see here, and scroll down. Under the metrics section, you'll see AW Stats. Now, I want to briefly talk about these other metrics. The visitors basically just tell you every single IP address and every single file that they are accessing. So, if you want a granular view of what is happening, what people are accessing, or what IP addresses are accessing your site, you would go here to find that. This bandwidth just tells you how much bandwidth or how many files in the metric of megabytes or gigabytes your prospects and site visitors are using. If you have a lot of videos, you have thousands of gigabytes of videos, and there are hundreds of people visiting it per day, it gives you a better idea of how much your website is actually using. In addition to that, you can click on AW Stats. I'm not going to show you this because it will reveal my domain. But if you click on that, it will give you the option of either choose the regular yourdomain.com or the SSL version of yourdomain.com. Then, of course, you get to see your monthly history over time, which is happening on your website, the days, the months, and which months are potentially getting more traffic. That's something that I would highly advise you to really start looking into. What days are your visitors reacting? Are there certain days that are better than others? It's going to be different for different websites, and knowing that information is actually going to really help you increase your traffic and potentially increase your sales if you're running a business. We've got days of week. We've got hours, which is crucial. You might notice that you might be getting more people at a specific hour or a specific time, and knowing this data is important because you can connect it to your email autoresponder system and email people at that specific hour. You're really taking yourself out of the box here and actually understanding what is happening. Knowing how people are interacting with your website is crucial. We have locations, which is basically where people are coming from, the different countries, different locations, and all that. We have different hosts. We have different authenticated users, and learn what kind of robots are visiting your site. Is Google coming to your site and indexing your site? Is Yahoo doing that? Are other search engines indexing your site? Then there's the visit's duration. How long are people actually staying on your site? Are they staying a few seconds? If they are, that might not be a good sign. Maybe you can look at your content and see why. If they're staying a long time on specific pages, then why is that? Is it because there are videos that are intriguing? What is that? Use this data to your advantage. You can see file size. What kind of files are they accessing? Are they accessing regular pages or are they downloading files? Are they downloading a lot of zip files or video files or whatever? Then there are the different pages. What kind of pages are they accessing? What kind of operating systems are they using? What kind of browsers are they using? You can also see where they're coming from. You can see which search engines are sending traffic to you. Who is linking to you? What files are they linking to? This is a great way to figure out who is linking to you. Are they doing it for good reasons? Are they maybe recommending you? Or are they linking to you and trying to hack your files? Maybe they found a loophole in your files and they're sharing it with everybody else illegally. You can find that information and figure out what is happening within AW Stats. You can also see the search phrases. What kind of search phrases are people typing into Google to find you? So, this is really good to have. We've got search key phrases, which are phrases, a bunch of keywords put together, or keywords in the top 25 right here. Then you can see the different types of browsers people are using with different types of support. That might or might not be useful to you, but at the end of the day, what I found is from here up to here usually is very good golden nuggets that you could potentially use in other areas of your business. So, that's basically an overview of AW Stats. But at the same time, definitely install Google Analytics and look at both. Compare both data and see what is happening in your business and your website in more detail. Hello and welcome to lesson number 5. In this video, you're going to learn what Softoculous is and how to use it. Softoculous replaced Fantastico, which is basically a popular suite of software scripts that you can build into your website. Things like WordPress and Joomla. If you want a forum, you can build forums with Softoculous. There are a lot of different free scripts that you have access to that you do not have to spend extra money for. They're all built in. In other words, Softoculous gives you access to things like WordPress, blogs, bulletin boards, even support help desk, and more. In this lesson, you'll be given an overview of this suite and how to use it properly. We'll show you how to install things like WordPress with a few clicks of your mouse. Where it's located can be different for different people. For most of you, it should be located somewhere down near the bottom. If we keep scrolling down, we can see that it says the Softoculous Apps Installer. What's nice about this is you have access to tons of scripts that you could potentially use, and just be aware that you want to pick and choose whatever you want. It's super easy, so try to install as much as possible scripts, but just keep in mind that the more you install, the slower your website will be. So, pick and choose wisely. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 scripts maximum. Let me just do a quick run through here. We've got blogs. We've got microblogs. If you click these links down below, these are categories. These are all the scripts. If you're not really sure which one to choose, if you click on blogs here, you'll be able to see all the blogs. As we can see here, we've got WordPress, we've got OpenBlog, we've got Serendipity, and there's a lot more. I'm not going to go through every single one, but if you click on blogs, it will categorize it. Then you can look through this. You've got microblogs. We've got portals or content management systems like Joomla and all of that. There are also specialized ones for real estate and more. We've got forums here. So let's say, for example, you want to create a community. Click forums. We got PHP BB. We've got SMF. SMF is really good script for building community. PHBB is good. BB Press is also good. We have image galleries here. Keep in mind, if you're installing something like WordPress, you don't really need all of these. You can actually create all of these options within WordPress by using WordPress plugins. Then we have wikis. We have social networking scripts. We have calendars. We have analytics. And we have e-commerce. There are tons and tons of stuff in here. But at the end of the day, the best way to know exactly what to install is to figure out, okay, what is my plan? What is my vision? Does it actually match what I'm trying to do? Then go from there. Now, in this particular video, I want to show you how easy it is to install all of these. I'm going to click on WordPress here, and you can see within a few clicks and a few things that we need to enter, we're going to create a WordPress site really fast. All you need to do is simply scroll down and click on Install Now, and then it's going to say Software Setup. You want to choose your protocol. If you're using an SSL certificate, you want to use this HTTPS://. If you're not, then use one of these two and then one of these. Then, of course, you want to choose your domain name. The reason why this is listed is because if you have a subdomain name, you can actually install it in there. Then there's the directory. If you leave this blank, it's going to install it at yourdomain.com. If you enter a directory, it's going to install it within that directory within yourdomain.com. So if it's WP, for example, it will be yourdomain.com/WP. So if somebody goes to yourdomain.com, they're not going to see the WordPress site. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you've done that, then what you want to do is enter your admin account, your admin username and password. I would say by default it has admin there, but it's highly advised not to use the word admin because most WordPress blogs use that and it's super easy for people to hack into your site. So make sure you change something that is not admin and not even any words inside of your domain name. We'll just do something like that. Then, of course, we've got the password. Then you'll enter your email. You'll enter your site language, and then you'll choose what you want here. You can also choose a theme later. We'll just select this one here. Then you want to enter the email details that you want. In case it sends to you information in the future, you click Install. That's it. That's how easy it is to literally install the scripts. If you were to do this manually and install WordPress manually, it would actually take you literally about 30 minutes to install this, even though they say it's a 5-minute install process. Remember, using Softoculus allows you to install a variety of different software really fast. Hopefully, that opens your eyes to the potential software and scripts that you can install really fast. And with that said, let's move on to our next lesson. In this particular video, we're going to talk about how to set up an error and redirect pages. Did you know that you could be losing traffic when people land on certain areas of your website that don't exist? In other words, over time and over the years of maintaining your website, you'll have pages and elements, videos, zip files, or whatever that will disappear on your website. Perhaps you will delete them. However, over the years, they will be indexed by Google. If somebody clicks on that through Google and they come to your website, it will lead to what we call a 404 error page. Now, think about it for just a second. If you were that prospect and you clicked on a link and it went to a 404 error page, what does that first impression give you? Most likely, it gives you the impression that the site is not maintained. Or maybe it's not very professional, right? In that case, what it will do is it will be detrimental to your reputation. You don't want that. Instead, you want people to be redirected to either a page that actually works or a specific page that you want all the traffic to be redirected to. This is where the 404 error page comes in. Fortunately, on the cPanel hosting panel, you can specify where you want all this traffic to go. In other words, what if you could redirect all that traffic back to either the main page or a working area of your website? Well, that's what you can do. In this video, we're going to show you how to create that 404 error page, and we'll talk about the other types of error pages as well. What you want to do is find the title that says Error Pages. Don't worry about the icon. We can even do a search for error. That's not the metrics though. It's not going to be under there. It's going to be Error Pages, or it might be 404 pages. We have Edit Common Error Codes, or Show All HTTP Error Code. The 404 is the one that's not found. So, that's what we're talking about. Anytime we delete a file, a page, or anything like that, that's generally where somebody is going to come in to access your site from Google or a site that has been indexed. The next thing after that is to enter some HTML code that tells the system to redirect to whatever page you decide. Now, I'm not going to expect you to understand HTML code. I could go through here and tell you to pause it and just copy it. You can do that. Or you can simply go to google.com and do a search for HTML meta redirect. get the code, and then just enter the code as you can see here. Sometimes you'll have stuff in the body and you can remove that. You can change the title, but basically it's HTML. There's a head, there's a title, and there's a meta head body. You can pause the video and just do that, or do the other way, but just make sure that it says meta refresh content equal to 0. 0 means that it will redirect immediately. If there's a number in there, it will wait that many seconds. So if there's a number 5 in there, it will wait 5 seconds before it redirects. Then, as you can see here, I'm telling it to redirect to google.com, but in your case, it's going to be http://yourdomain.com. That's what it's going to be. When you're done, you click on save. Anytime anyone goes to yourdomain.com/some random URL, instead of going to an error page, they are redirected to your main page or whatever you want to redirect them to. And that's it. Welcome back, guys. Today, we're going to show you how to use the file manager effectively. FTP is not the only way to upload your files. You might have heard of FTP software, which is basically a file transfer protocol software that enables you to transfer files. If you're not aware of this and it sounds a little bit complex, then don't worry about that. That's the whole goal of this particular video. In fact, cPanel's file manager not only allows you to upload your files, things like zip files and all of that, but you can also delete files. You can create directories. You can create and extract zip files. You can even edit files within this program, and so much more. By showing you this, I think this will simplify your life a little bit. This is great. In addition to that, especially if you need to install web scripts like PHP scripts. Best of all, you can do it within any fancy software, like the FTP software, and you can do it on any computer that has access to the internet. So, let me go ahead, jump right in, and show you how it works. You should see the file manager at the very top. The icon might be different, like I said earlier, but the file manager name will be the same. Click on that, and it's going to open up a separate window. I will warn you, you have to be very careful when you move your mouse, because you could potentially move a file or a folder into the wrong folder. So, just keep that in mind and be very careful while you're in here. Right now, I'm in a website and you're going to see all these different folders here. The key thing to remember is that some of you will see public_HTML and some of you might see HTTP docs. If you're unsure about where the file should be located, you'll need to contact your web host because some web host companies will put it in a certain directory. For the majority of you, it should say public_HTML. This should be the magic folder that holds all the files that show up on your website. All of the rest of the folders here may pertain to your email, system, or to files that are related to things other than what people actually see. We're going to click this here. Right off the bat, you see a bunch of WP-, which basically tells you there's WordPress site inside here. If we scroll down here, there are a number of things that we can do. So inside this folder, we can create a new folder. If we want to do that, we can click folder and we can type the new folder's name. So, create new folder. What we could do in this folder is we could double click it. Just like you would on a PC or a Mac computer, we're creating folders. Same thing, but in this case, we can upload files. We can click on upload and you can drag and drop files in here. Or you can simply click select file and upload files there. In this case, I can select an image, click open, and that'll upload the image. When I'm done, I click to go back to the new folder and we can see that it is there. We can select a file. We can also download it. We could click download and it would download it to our computer. If you had a zip file or a video file that you have and you want to download it to your computer, you can do that. You can also delete the file. We can also compress it. Let's say we have a good number of files that we want to compress into a zip file. we can select those files or select the folder and click compress. We can click zip, then compress, and it'll compress it as you can see here. We can click that, click download, and there we go. We can also delete files. You can select a file, click delete, skip trash, and permanently delete files. Or, if we unselect it and click confirm, we could do that. We can also rename it. You could rename the file here. We can also edit. It is an image file, so we can't necessarily edit the image file on here. We can only edit files like text files and things like that. Let's say, for example, we click on New File. We'll name this file as text. You can name it whatever you want it to be. I'll do that and we'll click on Edit. And now you can see that we're able to edit this particular file because it's a text file. You can also edit HTML files. So I could even do file.html. If you're not familiar with what HTML files are, they are basically web-based files. We could click that. We could click HTML editor, click edit, and then you'll see the HTML editor. Then, of course, you can create text, increase the size, and all that. We will exit out of that. You can also set permissions. What permissions means is you're telling the system as a user, these are my abilities, these are my rights. I can edit the file, but the world cannot. If you wanted the world to be able to edit, by world I mean everybody else, then you could do that. I would not recommend that. You're going to run into this situation, especially when you install scripts, especially when you upload the scripts. It is going to ask you to change the permissions for certain files, so that's good to know right there. That's pretty much it as far as File Manager goes, and as long as you understand those basics, and you understand that it operates very similarly to a Mac computer or a PC, then you're good to go. In this particular video, we're going to talk about email authentication. It's about time that you learn the basics of protecting your email box from spam. In this video, you're going to learn how to use cPanel and tell cPanel to do just that, and authenticate all the emails that are coming out of your domain as legitimate emails. What this does is it protects you from other people abusing your email. I'll show you in just a second how all this works. There are two things that you want to do. You want to, of course, scroll down and find the email section. After that, you're going to want to do two things. The first thing you want to do is open Spam Assassin, which will basically protect you from spam. We'll open that up in a new window. The next thing we want to do is what we call email authentication, and we'll open that up into a new window as well. Let's start with the Spam Assassin first. Spam Assassin basically is a mail filter. It will filter out your email. You have the ability to set it at a high and a low. By default, it's going from 1 to 10. So default is going to be 5. The higher the number, the more conservative the settings. So you can get really granular and block everything out, but I would caution you at that same point because at the end of the day, some of the good emails might be triggered as spam. I've seen that over the years. You have the option to auto-delete spam. Personally, I would not do that because, like I said, if it is good email that is triggered as spam, it will auto-delete. You'll never get it. And if you rely on your email and your website for your business and all that to make money, then that's not a good thing. Usually, I leave it at 5. You can click Configure to configure it further. The only reason why you would actually need to do this is if you happened to be getting bombarded with spam from a specific person. You can enter the information here. Or, if you have a whitelist from a certain domain, you can do that as well. But typically, the first step is all you really need. Let's talk about email authentication. Let me read this to you so you understand what it's about. Email authentication helps prevent spam. How? Well, basically, what a lot of spammers do is hijack your domain, or they'll email from your domain, or they'll pretend to do so. What this does is it prevents spammers from forging emails that claim to be your domain. You want to protect your domain as much as possible, because if you end up on a blacklist, that can be potentially very harmful for your email deliverability. Meaning, if you're emailing from that email when the ISPs, like Gmail, All these other internet service providers or email service providers see your email, they'll put it straight into the spam box, and you don't want that, right? So, you want to protect as much as possible. It's best to do that by clicking Enable for the DKIM, and then you can enable the SPF here. So, doing those two items will help you greatly. As far as protecting your email and your email reputation goes, in relation to the email service providers keeping your domain whitelisted. Congratulations, you've almost reached the end of this course. How's it going so far for you? Today, we're going to talk about how to back up and restore your websites. Have you ever created a document and forgot to save it and you lost it? Think about that feeling. That is one of the worst feelings after you spent sometimes hours, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, or even months to create that document. Well, the same goes for your website. In fact, websites are even worse because sometimes you spend months, years, or even half a decade or more maintaining your website and building it up. So if you don't back up of your website on a frequent basis, then you are in trouble. You could say, well, I'm just going to use the web host to back up my files, and that's fine. You can do it that route, but it's always good to keep a backup copy on your computer because there are many different scenarios, as I specified in the previous videos, that could potentially happen. I'm not saying this will happen to you, but I'm saying that it potentially could happen. You could have a web hosting company go bankrupt, which has actually happened in the past, and they go down and something happens. Or something happens without your control, or the web hosting company says you're using too much bandwidth and we're locking your website, or locking it down until you pay more money or something happens in that realm. As long as you keep a backup on a consistent basis on your own computer, then you're safe. Another scenario of why you would want to do this is if you wanted to back it up and then move it to a different host. You could do this as well. Let's jump right in and let me show you how it all works. There are two different options to back up. There's a backup and there's a backup wizard. Let me explain the differences between the two. Let's just go ahead and open these two windows up. The first thing is backup, and this is what you see here. This allows you to download a backup onto your computer. Rather than backing it up and storing it on your server, which yes, you could download it from there, you're downloading it straight from the server to your computer. What you would do is simply click on Download a full website backup. I'm not going to do it now because this website is big, but if you click that, it'll automatically download right away. You also have the opportunity to download just the home directories. What this enables you to do is split things up. So, let's say instead of downloading the whole thing, you're just telling the system, I just want to download what's inside the home directory. I don't want to download the emails or everything else in the MySQL databases. You can also download the MySQL databases separately. Let's say that you already have everything. You just want the database. Well, that gives you the option to do that. We could go here and click here, and it'll automatically download just the MySQL database or just the email forwarders. So that's what backup is all about. Downloading it straight from the server to your computer via a zip file. Backup Wizard, on the other hand, allows you to do partial backup right here. But if you do a full backup, you can specify the backup destination. This will basically back it up and store it on your server in a specified destination. Then you can enter your email address if you want it to notify you when it is complete. I like to do this because it stores it on the server, but when it's done, it gives you the option to actually download to your computer as well. You could have the option to have it on your computer and have it on the server, just in case anything was to happen. In a different scenario, where you would have to maybe move your site to a different host, you can easily ask the other host to log into your cPanel and transfer your site to their server. You can either do that or you can do it yourself. I always like to keep backups myself, even though they offer those services at your convenience. You never know what will happen with the web hosting company, and you never know what situation you might be in. So, always keep a backup. Try to do backups at least once a week, or once a month at minimum. If you did the backup wizard, you've backed everything up, and it is sitting in your home directory. If you want to restore it, you can either ask the web hosting company to do it for you, or you can do it yourself and do it really quick. You can simply click on Restore and you can select the type that you want. So, we'll do Home Directory, and the final step is to either choose to restore your backup, upload the file here, and restore it from here. Or, if it is sitting on your server, you can also ask the web hosting company to restore it from your home directory, and they can do that for you. That's typically better because a lot of times web hosting companies will back it up once a week or whatever. If you have your own backup, maybe you did it right before you made a big change, then you can do it based on your own change. So, before you do that major change, back it up and you can do it from there. Otherwise, you'll have to rely on whatever the web hosting company has backed up for you. I guess that is it. We've covered a lot in this course, and hopefully you've enjoyed it and would give us a thumbs up. If not, if there is something you're not happy with, please reach back to us via comments or discussion board, or you can even send us a private message. We'll be happy to hear back from you and assist you if you need one. Congratulations once again. And now, I would like to wish a good luck with your business. Goodbye for now.